200 years ago, the UK was the workshop of the world. That is no longer the case, very definitely. If we look at the number of industrial robots installed over the last 10, 12 years, we can see it's increased very significantly. But if we look where they've actually been installed, they've been installed in China, Japan, United States, Korea, and Germany. Basically, the top 5 markets make up over 76% of the industrial robot base. And then below that, we have Italy, Taiwan, France, Mexico, India. And I can tell you that the UK is very, very low down on there, probably 20th, maybe even down to 30th now. We are incredibly bad for an industrial country at employing robots and automation. So why is that? And I think it comes down to these things here. So PLC culture, when a company in the UK reaches a certain size, even not that big, 20, 50 million, it tends to become a PLC. And that means that it's just run for the next quarter's results. And that means that no one is investing properly, strategically in production. So they're not making the choices which mean that you're going to have something which is competitive in 5 or 10 years' time. Industrial robots typically take between 1 to 2 years to pay themselves back, to earn their keep, as it were. If you're running for the next quarter, you're just simply not going to invest in them. The way that places like Japan and Germany quite often get around this is by having at least a big chunk of shareholders in any one company being very interested in the long-term benefits of those companies. So they're typically family owned in Germany, quite often in Japan as well. And when we look at China and Korea, obviously it's quite often the governments that are setting the tone, setting the system up so that businesses invest for the longer term. Then we have a very small robotics industry in the UK, possibly because we don't adopt it very much, and it's very automotive focused. And that means that there's no flywheel effect because nobody knows, or nobody's used to dealing with robots. It means that it isn't the natural consideration. There are so many industries in the UK that could really do with industrial robots in them, but because nobody in the company has ever dealt with industrial robots, they tend not to think of them. That leads us on to education. Universities and stuff, they might have 1 or 2 robots knocking about, but do they often go to see proper industrial factories where there's tens or hundreds of robots running, building products? I don't think they do. And this is a real issue because unless you understand what a proper factory looks like, a proper automated, robotized factory looks like, you can really struggle to comprehend how competitive, how productive these things can be. Then we're on to investment, and look at Henry Fudge's page if you're interested in this. But basically what's happening is that the real estate, the property market, sucks money out of the British economy, and we spend it on that and very little else. So very little money goes into developing manufacturing facilities. So that's both from banks and from private individuals and from investment funds. They're just simply not investing in that stuff in the UK. Then finally, there's offshoring. So it's perceived as being easier and cheaper to make something elsewhere, whether that's China or Eastern Europe, or even somewhere like the Netherlands or Germany or even Scandinavia. And this is the thing, is that is a very tricky thing to get into, because with the Chinese economy being as it is, designed specifically to hoover up manufacturing, it makes it quite difficult to compete. But reshoring keeps jobs here, or shoring, keep automating here, keeps jobs here. It shortens supply chains, it generally makes things a bit more eco-friendly, and also it gives us control over the means of production, which is very important. And so essentially we need to fix all these things in Britain to get us up this table, and at least get us above 1 or 2 of these places. But honestly, we're so far down in the table. I can tell you that places like Poland and Spain, pretty much all the Scandinavian countries are going to be above us in the number of industrial robots that we have. And really, we need the industrial robots to make us competitive. You can't make things now in a way that is long-term competitive without automation and robotics. It's as simple as that. Unless we invest into it, we're not going to have that ability in the future.